going to talk about Virtu Gem, and an exciting model, another exciting model for how we can make change in the world. So let's see if I can introduce this illustrious panel. At the far end is Monica Gichuhi, and Monica is, see, I'm looking for titles again. It's just a thing. Where are you on this list? Help me, Adriano. There we go, at the very bottom. Extractives industry consultant. I probably could have remembered that. With Virtu Gem and AGEC. And next to her we have Percy Maleta. And Percy is founder of Maleta Gems and Jewels. And then next to Percy we have Susan. I don't need to introduce her, do I? Okay, cool. And then next to her we have Pauline Mundia. And Pauline has a very long title, deservedly so. She is Vice President of the Federation of Small-Scale Mining Associations of Zambia and the African Women in Mining Association, Southern Africa Chapter. And I had the pleasure of working a stage with her in Kenya, and she brought the audience to their feet, yelling and stomping in support of something she said. So, one of my best conference moments ever. And then next to her we have Jessica Hudson, who's with Virtu Gem and founded the Nomad jeweler and is a jewelry designer. And last but not least is Adriano. And where are you? It's like, I know what all of you do. They were Dr. Adriano, I should have done that correctly, who's a professor and a specialist in gem and jewelry design. So one of the things that I think is really cool about Virtu Gem is that instead of getting engaged in all of the arguments about what a good model or a bad model or a good certification or a bad certification is, you just said, the heck with it. We're just going to make something that makes sense. And so I guess I'd like to start the conversation there. What is the Virtu Gem craft model? Yes.
Thank you very much, Andrea. I'm so excited that I'm part of this panel. Now, the Virtu Gem craft model is all about bringing awareness to the ASM on the importance of responsible mining. And Virtu Gem realized that it is very important that the ASM, for them to access the responsible international market, they should have a system in place, and that is the craft code. And of course, it is a requirement at the moment that the ASM actually have to comply to responsible mining. And I just want to give an example of Zambia. So when we actually carried out the assessment, especially the physical traveling into these mines, we discovered that a lot of them are not able to comply, and especially in the terms of health and safety, having labor policies in place, and also the issue of gender mainstreaming, it was not there. Apart from one mine, we actually carried out the assessment on 4 mines. 3 were female-owned, 1 mine mining emeralds, amethyst, and aquamarine, and only 1 was male-owned and mining in equalite. And then when we talk about gender mainstreaming, only 1 mine had a number of female workers. And surprisingly, at this mine, had more female workers than the male workers. That was something that was new. And then the other 3 mines, there was not even a single woman. And then the other thing that we discovered was that most of them had an issue with health and safety. They did not consider buying the PPEs for their workers, and it's a requirement because they need to protect their workers. And there's also another serious issue of the environment. So we did bring this to their attention, and the most important thing is that eventually they were able to comply. And as Virtu Gem, we are very happy with that result.
So how did you guys decide about what was part of your code? Let me just speak to the PPE, just to do a little plug, is that through craft, and this is part of the process, we were able to do an assessment and gather the data of who had equipment and who didn't. In fact, there's a lot of data just from doing craft that has enabled us to kind of go the next steps. As you'll see, Pauline will join the carbon panel, which wouldn't have been, we wouldn't have that data on ASM and in this type of area without craft laying the groundwork and having this. So, as far as our how do we do craft, as we call it, Virtu craft, we have almost all of our team here, but we don't have all of our team. We're missing Carol from Kenya and Chico from Malawi, and we were able to do craft first of all because we were World Bank funded for the past 2 years. Patricia, who's in the audience from World Bank, oversaw our grants that enabled us because to go in and even do this virtually enabled us to have the funds and the footwork and ground to do that. And craft was implemented by Patient Singo, who had done craft in gold and cobalt in many other areas before. He's an expert, in the area. He was our consultant that we were able to do with World Bank. So Virtu Gem is like a group effort. We talked a lot about what we wanted to see in it. Gender equity was put on the forefront of what we went into craft and did. And we took low-hanging fruit. I think everyone, you guys had like 2 mines that you had to go through to get somebody that had the land rights. We ran into problems in some areas with having women-owned mines. But does somebody else want to talk on craft as well? We kind of came to it and I'm just teasing, I won't take your mic, Andrea.
No, I think it was best to have each country. There, Mama Pauline has given you the Zambian experience, because then we had 4 mines in Zambia, 2 mines in Malawi, and 2 mines in Kenya, and the reason why the assessment was important was because of due diligence issues in the supply chain. And since we had formed and established Virtu Gem, it sparked and started during COVID. Everything was virtual, right? And so we had laid out the due diligence requirements for the mines that we were going to work with in these 3 countries and the associations. So having to take them through craft certification virtually again was also very interesting, because then out in the villages and having a consultant seated somewhere and taking them through these standards and certification, right? And trying to make them understand why that was important as a prerequisite to us sourcing their gemstones was quite interesting. And trying to break it down to them and cascade what are these certifications and why is it important for you? Because on one side of the supply chain, you talk about responsible sourcing, but I also saw somebody else said that there must be a nexus between responsible sourcing and responsible mining as well, And so how does that come about? It was interesting to see that, as Mama Pauline said, and Susan has highlighted, gender issues were when we started out, we actually thought we'd do as many women mines as possible. But when we went out to the ground, there were no women owning some of these mines, right? And I remember one of the craft assessment sessions, we asked even the women miners, why don't you employ women in your mines? And one of the mines said, it's because they steal a lot. And that question really triggered a lot of debates. I think that should be supposed to be all women established, helping women, and the owner or the son of the mine. We said, you have the audacity to say that in front of all of us? And he said, but I thought you said part of responsible sourcing and us speaking is being honest with each other. And so we have to be honest with you. And he said, what do you mean women steal? Can you substantiate? And only for us to realize later, and I think that also I came to realize in Malawi when I was in Zimbabwe, the same case, the women are sent by the men. Right? Because when a man is found stealing, the punishment is more severe. But when a woman is found stealing, the punishment is not as severe, you know. So there's so many things we learned along the way. And Virtu Gem, and World Bank was actually told us, whereas craft is an international standard, design a Virtu Gem craft, you know, customize it to a Virtu Gem craft assessment. And I'm so glad that by doing that, we came up and it strengthened our due diligence of the mines that we source from and operate from, and they are all at different stages. As Pauline has said, we can't claim they were all at 100%. So many things still need to be done, and it's a continuous improvement process, and we continue to engage.
Well, I'm fascinated with the fact that you all refer to yourselves as the Virtu Gem Team. I mean, you are. And yet you're very country-specific too. So is that part of your success, that you have experts in each country? And is your craft application tailored from country to country to represent issues between them, or differences?
I'll take that because it's just what we were talking about. We kind of get I was a fly on the wall, you know, and we all work for all of the craft workshops. And by the way, we have so much fun this program. And even during craft, we're cracking up the whole time. Like when he said that, it's like dropping the bomb with all the women in the call. But the great thing about doing craft virtually, the way we did it, and then, you know, the assessments were done on the ground, was that when something like that happened, Pauline and Marianne and some of the other mine owners that were on the call could speak to maybe new mine owners in Malawi and speak to, you know, in Kenya. Everybody's on the call together. I learned about mining laws in all the different countries, the different stages of mining laws. I mean, there were so many things we heard about, different environmental things that the miners were doing as stewards of their own land. Because I was just like this outsider fly on the wall, listening to this the whole time. And it was the interaction of 8 different, you know, miners being on the call with all the, and then you bring in Monica and Pauline and people and Percy, you know, and the others that know the laws, they know the miners personally. So I think that actually doing it virtually and have that collaboration was, for me, really interesting. I learned a lot.
Well, and your distribution of skill sets.
Yeah.
You have so many points of expertise along the path of having to have craft, with your mining expertise, your jewelry, you know, making expertise, your the government part that Monica brings. It's like, so you assembled a team that really covers a lot of important parts of the skill set.
Maybe I can come in on that one. I feel that what Susan said, and I just want to give the scenario of Zambia. You know, the government actually supported it, and they helped us, you know, especially when we carried out the actual physical visits, just to ascertain whatever was on the ground. We would get support from the government. They would give us their mine safety engineer to be able to provide the technical, you know, the advice to the miners. So we appreciated that support from the government, and then the government was really saying this is a good idea. So instead of just being for 4 mines, I think it is important that it should be extended to all the areas in Zambia, because they feel it is something that is good. And then you know, one thing that actually learns, you know, during the implementation of the program is that the 3 countries, you know, the ASM were able to come together, you know, and share their experiences, and through those meetings, they were able to strengthen each other, because there were some were weak, and then some had strength. So that kind of helping each other, which was very good. And especially on the gender mainstreaming a lot, the other miners were surprised that Mary's mine, had a lot of women. When in their mine, they didn't have not even a single woman. So they would ask, but then how possible? How did you make it? So it was a platform that was not only for responsible mining, but then also to share the experience, which was a good idea. And then the other thing is that through the Virtu Gem, the issue of environmental management, there was a lot of support. The Virtu Gem provided the posters on environment, especially. Is it health? Yes. The health and safety rules, which most of the ASM did not have. And then the other many posters which the ASM actually appreciated, and they were able to put up those posters. And we also provided a bit of money for them to have some kind of workshop where they also involved the local leadership in those areas, not the community, because there's a problem, with the locals. They would allow their goats or their animals not to go near the pits. And usually when those animals fall into the pits, then they will accuse the owner of the mine, say, you have to pay me because my cow has fallen into the pit, it has got a broken leg. So through Virtu Gem, there was also that a close collaboration with the community. So the mine owners and the community came together and agreed. They learned the same things at the same time, and they actually appreciated, how to look after the environment and also how to keep away their goals. So it was not a good opportunity. So it was a good thing because everyone actually benefited.
Allow me, Andrea, to just say, from just what you stated, Virtu Gem was actually a collaboration, and as you can see, it's not really owned by one person or three of us. It was an idea that was sparked by collaboration and partnership between very many people in the supply chain coming together and saying, let's all work together, and let's support each other. Let's create a people-to-people connection as we connect the dots in the Gemstone supply chain, and how best do we do this, right? Because when several years ago when we heard about responsible sourcing, and I think part of it was in this conference the first time, and I saw all the amazing jewelers speaking about responsible sourcing and what they want to do and give back and connect to the miners and asking the questions, how do we connect and where are these miners? And what sparked my interest was, who tells the miners the goodwill that the jewelers have to work with them, and who tells the miners that their narrative is important, and how do you tell them in a language that they understand, or what a narrative is, and that they need to be visible in the supply chain, right? And that's exactly what we needed to do. And that's where we are, all of us, all the faces of the supply chain with Virtu Gem, because we needed everybody to connect. And when we wanted to do that, we thought we'd do it as a conference, bring Susan, bring all of you back to Africa and say, come and see the miners, come experience the mines. Yeah. And that was not possible, but we had already brought together the mining associations, we already brought together the miners. And then COVID happens, and they came back to us and said, you said we were going to sell. You said the market was going, you said we were going to have a connection. How are we going to do it? And I went back to everyone, all of them, and I said, we were going to do it. So how are we going to do it, right? And it continues to be a collaboration, partnership, and team effort. Nobody has one true answer. Until now, we're still sorting out issues, right? We started by just trading gemstones in these countries. We started by trading rough gemstones. Then we got very good jewelers. Thank you to everyone who, as we were swimming from the deep end, came and said, we'll buy. And they've never bought a rough gemstone before. And we were selling it without seeing it. And they bought it. Then along the way, we said, let's cut it. And we've never seen the person cutting it. And they give instructions on Zoom and telling Percy, go see. And Percy says, I'm not a gemologist, and that jeweler wants a fancy cut. What's going on? And we said, show it on Zoom. And the miner says, I don't have a smartphone. So he says, take it under the sunlight and don't take it at night. Wait at 12 o'clock when the sun is above your head and put it in the light. You know, so it's been a learning experience. It's always been about collaboration and partnership, and everybody playing their role and coming together and harnessing their skills, you know, to make it work.
Well, and I want to unpack that a bit, because what you just described is huge. Absolutely huge. So you've got your graphics, you're working with the miners, and you're improving the experience of people at the community level. Now you've also got this virtuous, is it the virtuous buyer? Yeah. So they've got layer upon layer of beneficiation built into this. So let's talk about the virtuous buyer. Then we're going to go back to the gemstone, because you keep getting closer to the market with this thing.
Yeah, so just to add or maybe summarize on craft code, and also talking about Virtu Gems. There's one interesting thing that I would like to share. Like in the case of Malawi, where we have been producing very good garnet rollage. And for years, Malawi was not known as a producer of garnet. Normally, or I should say, this garnet was being bought by our friends, neighboring countries, Tanzania, Kenya, Zambia, probably traded even here in Tucson, as from those countries. So the coming in of Virtu corrected that situation. And right now, I know in these countries they have roulette, but not trying to prop ourselves as Malawians. Ours still is the best. And Virtu Gem has made it possible to correct the situation, as I said. Also, to comment on Monica, when she said one mine owner mentioned that women steals a lot, probably the opposite in Malawi, where we have pretty more women mining or in the mining sector, especially small-scale miners, producing a lot of product than men, maybe 60%, maybe 70% if we, 80% if we include the youth. And as this group for women and the youth producing, but they have no access to market. Here is a husband or a father sitting at home or probably drinking beer somewhere. The woman is in the mine. When they manage to get the stones, good stones, they have to rush to this husband, give them the stones to sell on their behalf. Now, the coming in of Virtu, as we went about doing craft code and telling them more about Virtu, they got to have a late market. Mind you, when these husbands or the father sells these stones, they don't bring the money. The chances are maybe they're going to get another wife to spend the money on, or more drinking. When the women sells these stones, they look more of the family. What will my family eat? Children going to school. So yes, Virtu is doing a lot in these areas where the setup has changed a bit. I know maybe men are not happy with it, but we are happy that more women are able to access the market for Virtu Gem.
Yeah, so now that you know a little bit more about what Virtu Gem does, I'd like to just share that we couldn't really continue what we do without our buyers, and we're so appreciative to our buyers. And just to elaborate what it means to be a Virtu Gem buyer, I want to share with you our buyer's manifesto. I'm just going to read it really quickly. So, virtuous buyers intend to do good without doing harm. Virtuous buyers will meet the miners and mines where they are in order for positive impact now and continuous improvements in the future. Virtuous buyers are guided towards the purchase where there is the most need for benefit rather than guided by risk aversion. Fair prices are more important than good deals. Virtuous buyers believes in a fair trade future for the gemstone trade, where everyone in the supply chain will benefit from the sale of a gem, including the diggers. So that's what virtuous buying is to us, and we really want to encourage you to come in and join this journey. And as Monica stated, it's collaboration and connection, and you're just want to invite you into that. So you can contact us at sales@virtugem.com and have any questions, be happy to answer that, and thank you.
I love that. I love that on so many levels, but one of the things you've done is you've identified, you said to the market, here's who our customer, our buyer is. We want you to, use these as identifications for yourself. So you have your minds, now you've got your virtuous buyer. Now I'd like to hear more about the gem cut, the national gem cut.
I think before you hear about the gem cut, let me just talk about something that I think everyone has missed. It is about the food drive, the premium. The time of COVID, when everybody was struggling in the markets, every ASM was struggling of how to feed the workers. Virtu Gem came initiated what they called, or what we still call the food drive, whereby we were able to identify the women who never gave up during the COVID, because a lot of manual operations were suspended, but then those who soldiered on to say whether COVID or not, will go ahead and buy. We provided food through Virtu Gem. And a lot of those women, to that we only identified the women. And of course, the women did not give up. The men said, no, I can't, because I'll die. But the women soldiered on. So we provided food, because I remember when we went to Valley's mine and Emerald mine, when we took about 20 bags of corn, a lot of sugar, a lot of cooking, all the food stuff. The husband was saying, oh my God. Violet was just saying, what are the workers going to eat today? We have completely run out. And you can imagine, at the time when Violet needed food, Virtu Gem provided the food. So that's something that the ASM, especially the women, up to now still talk about. When you are hungry and someone gives you food at that time, that's the person that you never forget. Thank you.
We're going to juggle next.
The other thing that we have to mention, all along we talk of illegal miners, but probably the better word is informal miners or informal mining. So, very informal, these people, when they sell their gems to other people, normally these are the people who take the stones through and charter routes outside the country. It doesn't go through the system, there's no data, they don't pay taxes. Now, when we encourage them to do it through Virtu, we make sure and we encourage them that they pay loyalty as a sense of responsibility. It's working. No one wants to part away with any money, but with a lot of education to these miners, everybody is happy to contribute to the taxes of the countries that Zambia, Kenya, and Malawi through the taxes that they pay in form of royalty. I just have to mention this.
Now we'll turn it over to Adriano, and I think that means bringing up the slides for you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to present you with my tiny collaboration through Virtu Gem who has been doing a lot in those countries, Malawi, Kenya, and Zambia for so long. While the presentation is being loaded up,
Someone doesn't have it. No. I'm thinking. Because you sent it over. Yeah. And it's on one of those thumb drives, Rachel. Okay. But I know
I can talk while they find it.
I'll be right back.
It's all right. We can improvise, right? It makes sense to be the last to speak because it was just back in 2021 that we started doing this. So Susan invited me to bring a little bit of our design applied to the jewelry industry into what they have been doing there. And not to give any spoilers, but I got in touch with the group when Jessica Hudson was in Brazil, studying at the State University there that we have there. It was a pleasure to join the important work that you have been doing. And so this approach that we brought is we can design a gemstone and a jewel the same way we can design any kind of product, right? We can apply marketing, we can apply storytelling to it. In Virtu Gem, it does a very good work of putting the producer closer to the market. You see, they brought all these producers here to be in touch with you representing the market. So the project that we did was to design some gemstone cuts that would represent each and one of these 3 countries they work with. That's the work we have been doing in Brazil for a long time. It was a personal pleasure for me to be able to do that in a broader continent, which is Africa, to us in Brazil. So now we have it. So next slide, please. This is where I come from, Minas Gerais. Just a quick note. Please don't boycott us all in Brazil. We are not, all of us, trying to burn out. We just got rid of that guy. He's one back. So, what's Virtu Gem about? Important things. Cut in country. That's something we have similarity in Brazil and in those 3 countries. We are doing our best to cut the stones there, right? There were some, back in the days, it was synonym with bad cutting, but that's not the case. That's not the case, especially what I witnessed there. I witnessed so much talent in Africa, in Zambia, Malawi, and Kenya. I cannot say it. It's beautiful, beautiful work there. So, what we wanted to do with these cuts, to strengthen Virtu Gem's marketing proposal. So, Susan got a grant from the World Bank and she applied it well into this, right? Together with craft, together with all the beautiful initiatives they talked about. So, next slide, please. What we did was a simple design process. We asked them as a group, we did that through video calls, Zoom calls, and we asked them as a group to name the natural resources and the natural aspects of their culture that they were proud of. And so that was first phase 1. So we ended up, as a group, they chose, well, we want such as in the case in Malawi, we want the Ibona fish, our local fish from the beautiful Victoria Lake and Tanganyika Lake, to be Malawi Lake as well, to be, I'm sorry, I'm a student. So, to represent, they are proud of it. So let's try and come up with a cut, especially to represent Malawi and to represent their symbols. So we did some designs, you can see initial sketches, up to the way of the final cut. So it's a stylized fish. You see this shape, you see this cut, it's a unique cut. You associate directly with Malawi production. And it was also tailored for a specific stone, which was Malawi garnet. We could choose between beautiful sources of rough there, and so the cut is optimized for Malawi garnet. Right, next please. Then in Kenya, their pride and joy was both the Kenyan marathon runners, athletes, and also the cheetah. So we were lucky enough to put those together in a cheetah head cut. It's a shield-shaped cut that resembles, works as a symbol for the production in Kenya. And we can see, again, the steps up until the final beautifully superb cut stone cutting country. And even more preciously pictured by Robert Weldon. And we have full credit of the people who cut it and the institutions that supported this working together, as Mama Pauline said. In every country we have institutions that support it, where governmental, being a government institution, such as in the case in the center in Foi, in Kenya, and the next one in Zambia as well. So in Zambia we have in Idola a lapidary training center, and the Zambian symbol chosen was the eagle, which is, I didn't know that, but I just learned with them that the eagle is a symbol of pride in Zambia. And in this cut, the initial design, we also tried to use the stylized shape of a spread winged eagle with the facets of Victoria Falls. But the final faceting pattern didn't include the Victoria Falls opposite bark. But you can see the little wings spread on the ends, on the back of the gemstone, and you can see three beautifully cut eagle, Zambian eagle, cut by Virtu Gem, and that's it. Those three cuts are there, and I hope you see them and recognize and associate them with the beautiful work Virtu Gem does.
We also want to talk about that we're launching a national design cut competition. And that's to include all the designers to come together and work with these, and we'll have judges, and it'll go out over a year. And whenever you buy a national gem cut, it comes with all the due diligence that we have in every other gem. So they all come with blockchain if you'd like that. You can sign up for that. But say you did see the road light of Malawi, which is their pride and joy of gems. So you can pick any gemstone that you want. If you want the Malawi National Gem Cut, you can do it in rhodolite, or you can do it in amethyst. Whatever gem is available there that we can trace back to mine. and it's always cut in country. And I think that one of the reasons why we brought on more cutting after Adriano, thank you, Jess, for bringing Adriano on, came in and did the first gem workshop where we were looking for alternative cuts, bring value to other stones. We saw the need to really bring art into cutting and to value that. So since kind of all of this, we've realized how important the cutting is. Not just as a value addition work, but also to bring the margin back into the countries in the job. So we really enjoy it, and we really look forward to people joining on the National Gem Cut competition. Do you have anything to say about
No, we're just trying to separate the mic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess then as a conclusion, I think we've drawn for you the full picture of Virtu Gem and who we are and what we are about and who we work with. Please, for all the designers, join in and design something using the National Gem Cut. It's really the pride and joy of the countries of origin, and it's full provenance, sourced cuts from that country, and as you heard from Malawi, a lot of the cross-border, porous borders where a rhodolite maybe comes from Malawi, and they've been saying it belongs to us, but if it's cut with the Malawi cut, it continues with the provenance story of where it comes from and who has cut that stone. And we have, cutting has been a journey, and Adriano has been training for 1 year almost. We still need a lot more training. We're still conducting a lot more cutting training in country. If you want to anyway work with us to support that, we've had it's been a learning curve. We've had at times the polish not being up to standard. Then we realized because of COVID, the level of polishing compound that that was in country was not matching to the level of finishing the polishing. We assisted, and Susan actually had to ship in polishing compound to some of these countries to help boost that, So it's been a learning process, and we cannot say we have arrived yet. We are still swimming from the deep end. And together, with all of you, we believe we'll actually get to and learn how to swim and, to the surface. So we still have a lot of training to do in terms of bringing up people up to skill in training. We still have require machinery. We've been trying to do all this with the give back. What Pauline talked about during COVID, every sale that we made from Virtu Gem is a 10% give back premium, and that give back premium is what we used to buy food during COVID. But at the end of COVID, that has transformed from being a food drive to what do the miners need and what does the community need. So now we work with the associations in the various countries after give back and ask them what is the next priority. And what is coming up as a priority now is capacity building in terms of cutting. Because we have brought the issue of cutting source, then we have to match and grow their capacity to be able to cut to the level of how that stone would have been cut if it went to Thailand, to China, it came to the US, right? So we need to train them up. We need to have the right machinery. We have a lot of young women and ladies wanting to, since mining can be a bit difficult, they are getting a lot of interest now in coming into the cutting space. So it's creating employment, it's creating new opportunities for the youth and women in the value chain, right? And I want to keep encouraging all of you, when you source from us, allow us to cut for you your gem in country to enrich the provenance story of that gem. And thank you for the support.
So, you've only been at this just over 3 years, right? All right, so that's one major initiative for each of your 3 years. What are you doing next year?
We talked about expanding, as you said, and we talked about expanding to other countries.
I have an idea.
Let's get a mic too so our virtual audience can hear
You
you.
can mentor us. It's inspiring, it's powerful. You've done something that is out of any branding possibility, and the methodology you use can be applied in other projects, so.
That's the idea for next year.
That sounds great. I just want to, while Rachel has the mic also, as I did say, we want to thank World Bank and thank Rachel for all the work that she's done in pulling us together to get through a grant that she's done and helping out behind the scenes with everything, so do you want to?
Should we open up for questions? Yeah, we have time for some questions. Monica up here has her hand up.
Well done. And I would like to ask, I know that the craft code, you talked a fair amount about it, and then you actually have it on your site, what your site standards are. But it wasn't originally developed for gemstones, correct? So how did you adapt that? And is it recognized officially by any kind of standards body? Like, what does that mean for the broader market?
Okay, when we were given the craft idea came when we applied for the EGPS One Back funds, and we told them about the due diligence that we were doing virtually, and they proposed that we subject it to craft assessment. And actually that was our challenge, because craft was actually remedied for gold assessments for ASM sites and not for gemstones. So we were lucky enough, because then the World Bank said, get in a consultant who has the competence and understands the craft codes to be able to customize it to do assessment of gemstone mine sites, right? And that's why we got Patient Singo, who's actually a consultant who worked with ARM and was very conversant with the craft standards and certification. So the thing about artisanal mining, whether you're mining gold, gemstones, industrial minerals, copper, cobalt, an ASM miner is an ASM miner. The challenges are cross-cutting, the issues are cross-cutting, and one solution could more or less be applied across board. If you talk about occupational health and safety, in a gold site, it would be the same issues in a gemstone ASM site, right? So that customization and assessment was done by a craft expert who's patient, who then understood the code, was able to customize it to the site, understood the laws, and we worked. That's why we have coordinators in all our 3 countries of operation, because we need to understand the laws of the countries. We need to understand what are the requirements, what are the permits required for ASM, what we see is a legal operation, what's illegal. So that was done to us through an expert, and according to the World Bank, they allowed us to it's an assessment. These mines are not certified against, but we use this as a guideline to assess these mines, to be able to see what would be the gaps and what are possible areas of improvement, so that as we work with them and resource from them, we then have a baseline through which to use to assess what are the areas and the gaps that we need, what are their needs, identify a needs assessment, identify their needs, and use that then as we're doing give-backs and we're calling for support to be able to identify these are the areas of improvement for the miners that we are working with. Yeah. So, and I don't think we are seeking to assess to certify them. We just want it to be the basis for which we get due diligence data for the mines we are working with.
I just want to add on to that we have low-hanging fruit. So basically, if you look at OECD guidelines, I mean, we were looking at the mines that were already there. We weren't looking at child labor. We weren't looking at a conflict zone. I think one of our we were very challenged. I remember Christine and I talking at the beginning, especially when we were looking for women's mine, women-owned mine. But we did, we worked within associations. You go to FESMA, the Federation of Artisanal Small-Scale Miners in Zambia, where Pauline is the secretary, you already have a huge list of mines that are legal. They already are operating with licenses and their concessions. They already, they're members of associations that are very well organized and have very good laws.
Because they're women.
It's true.
I apologize for that.
But so we did have low-hanging fruit, and it made it much easier to go through craft that way.
Congratulations, this is wonderful. And I've been hearing about the National Gem Cut, the first time actually seeing it, and it's wonderful. My question was also on craft. I was wondering how many sites did you do? And then how many sites are total in all of Virtue's footprint? And is craft going to be a requirement, or at least the process of craft for all the mines? So how many have you done? What's the total mines, and is it a requirement?
I can start that, if somebody else wants to chime in. So we did do 4 in Zambia, 2 in Malawi and 2 in Kenya. And as far as, I think what we did was very shareable. And that was another great thing about doing it virtually, is we have all the tapes, we have all of our sessions. Everyone has their signs that they have up at the mine. So, I mean, I think as far as plans go for the future, I think that's something that in our next meeting we can talk about, like how do we share this with existing mines? Do you have an idea on
Yeah, I think initially is because it's the World Bank actually had given us the numbers, as we are committed to a number of mines to do them, given the grants amounts that we had, the scope and the number of days we had. So moving forth for the other miners who continue to sell through Virtu Gem, but we're not taking them through the craft assessment, we use our coordinators, Mama Pauline, Percy, and because they sat in through that whole craft process, they spoke to, they're the ones who Patience was using to do the assessments and go to the mine sites. So our coordinators are mainly trained in craft by the expert, so they now know what are those basic due diligence guidelines that we require for any miner who we want to enroll to work with us. So they are able to, give the miner those requirements and tell them as a prerequisite, if we have to source from you, these are the basics, this is what we want to see, and these would be the requirements, right? So our coordinators become the way through which that due diligence continues to happen. And during the process as well, we interacted with the associations, especially like in Zambia, where Mama Pauline is also the vice president of the association, and in Malawi, who are then the members also, who own the mine, and most of them got an understanding of what we mean. We don't have to call it craft every time we talk to the miners. They know them as basic requirements to sell their gems through Virtu Gem. So it's only when they say that then you call it craft assessment or give it a name. For them, they know them as just basic requirements to be able to avail their gems.
We have time for one more question. Jennifer has it.
Where can I buy these gems?
Yeah. I need to get some.
You can contact me at sales@Virtu Gem, and I would be happy to assist all of you with buying some Virtu Gems. And the National Gem Cut competition, I can give you all the details, and that will be on our website as well, which is currently in construction, but should be up in like the next couple of days. So you can get.
There's a website now, right?
But the National Gem Cut competition specifically, where those details will be up in a few days.
Can you tell us the details?
Sure. So you can, it's any gem that any cut. I think as far as gem material available will be a little bit dependent on what's being sourced out of that country. So that's where you could start, is deciding which cut you want to do and what material you like, and we just take it from there.
These cuts are commercially available?
Yes.
Through Virtu Gem. So it would encourage people to start ordering early.
Yeah.
So say you want an emerald cut in Zambia and you want it to be, 1.5 carats. We're going to have to source the rough and find something exactly like what you want and cut it. So everything will be, unless there are some, these are available here that Robert Weldon generously photographed for us. There are some available, but I think for the most part, knowing Jess and I, designer background, that people are going to want what they want. They may want, something cut in some way in a specific gem. Let us know ahead of time. What we will have is a list of what gems are currently available in each country. You may ask for, you know, a rutile quartz in Malawi, but we can't find that right now. So, you know, or it's going to take a long time to custom cut that into the fish cut. So, we want everyone to order soon and to kind of think about, you know, what gem you want now, and the sourcing can begin.
How long does it take to, because we have to order the stones first and then.
You order the stones, unless you see something in inventory you like, yes. Order the stones, and then it may be like, if you did want rhodolite in Malawi, if you did want amethyst in Zambia, that could be as quick as, you know, a couple of weeks. But sometimes, you know, it's something that's harder to find. So there's certain gems that are readily available in each country right now, and other gems where we're like, we know we can get that, but give us a minute.
You guys are inspiring.
Well, and let's end on that note. Did you have something else you wanted to add? Oh, okay, you have that look on your face, I'm like, oh, she's gonna say something. Okay, congratulations on an absolutely incredible accomplishment and model for the